That's the music from the Cantina Band section of Star Wars, which I think anybody who's seen the picture remembers, because it was there's no scene in film anywhere that's anything like that. Zubin Mehta conducting that performance with the Los Angeles Philharmonic and the London Recording 1001. What was the story behind that?
Well, there is a little story behind it, Robert, which has to do with the fact that when George Lucas shot that scene, he shot it cold. There wasn't a pre-recorded music track. He just shot these little creatures sort of dancing around with saxophones, and they didn't make any sound because we knew that we'd put the music in after the sequence was shot.
Uh-huh.
So the first day I looked at the sequence with George Lucas, it was silent, just some actors sort of acting like they were playing.
And you broke up, I'll bet.
I broke up, and I said, "What on earth will I write for that? What possibly could make any sense?" And I really didn't have an idea, and I must confess that George Lucas had a marvelous conception. He said, "Well, look," he said, "maybe we can get away with something like this." He said, "Just imagine that these 4 or 5 little musicians are wandering around this dusty little planet off in space somewhere, and they find under a rock the sheet music for one of the arrangements of Benny Goodman's great swing band of the 1930s, Earth Time. And they pick up this little sheet music, which they obviously had never heard, and they look at it and they try to play it in their own style." And so I said, "All right, that's as plausible as any other thing we could come up with." So I got those little tinny saxophones and those Trinidad steel drums, which kind of in a way imitate Lionel Hampton of the 1930s. And that was the kind of genesis of this silly little piece. And we used a click track to beat out the movements of the little musicians so that it really looked like that they were jumping up and down and dancing to this little music, which they obviously hadn't heard. And I wrote that silly little thing, and we cut it in against the film, and it was hilarious. We all laughed and thought very cute.
It's an incredible
So
scene.
it's an implausible kind of combination of things that's put together seem to make some kind of entertaining sense.
Whose idea was it to come up with that scene anyway? I mean, it didn't have to be.
I think George Lucas. He wanted the Alec Guinness character and Mark Hamill to wander into what on Earth would look like a sort of bar, where they pick up some information from some questionable types in the back there.
Well, it was a stroke of genius.
And it's the kind of thing that relates to very much Earth-type experience, and viewers related to it and enjoyed it.